Well, welcome back. This is lovely to see you again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're dialing in from. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here today for today's very special Vox Talk. And I'm absolutely delighted to welcome a true superstar from our Derby ensembles, a guy called Mr. James Howsley, who's now gone on to be one of the world's leading cybersecurity experts, and he's currently dialing in from Amsterdam. Hello, James. Woo! That's welcome there, James. It's really cool that you can be here. And obviously I'm going to let the guys hear more about what you do. We really appreciate you giving up your time. It won't take too long. Do you feel like just sharing with the watchers, the viewers, what you do now, and then maybe how you got there, what sort of education you went through?
Yeah, of course. So I'm currently living in Amsterdam. I moved here 18 months ago to start a graduate scheme with Liberty Global. So they're a telecommunications company, and they own different brands across Europe. So one that you probably know in the UK is Virgin Media. And then they have the sort of equivalent in Europe, and then they're like the parent. So I work for the parent company. And yeah, I kind of ended up here with no intentions of sort of living abroad, but was open to that, of course, and it just sort of came across coincidentally, and then ended up moving over here quite last minute, really. And then we do 6-month rotations in different areas of the technology and innovation department, if you like, and so I'm now in my 3rd rotation, which is in cybersecurity. And I'm staying here actually for a year. So I'm doing 2 rotations essentially in this one, with the plan of staying in the team permanently after September.
Oh, that's amazing.
How I ended up here was, well, I guess from education wise, I did aerospace engineering at uni. And then I did an extra year, stayed at the same uni and did a master's degree. And then, I just was applying for loads of different jobs, and was originally planning on joining the Royal Navy, actually. But then I ended up going down a slightly different route in the end. And I sort of did lots of different interviews and sort of kept my options open for different things, and then ended up, I think this was actually the last interview that I did, and I ended up just changing my mind and coming here.
Wow, that's amazing. Before I go into the graduate training and maybe even the Royal Navy, which uni did you go to, and what sort of what A levels did you have to get into that? Was it an aerospace degree you said that you did?
Aerospace, yeah. So I went to the University of Sheffield, and A-level wise, I did, shockingly, of course, maths,
as
physics,
we all did.
Chemistry, and AS level I did economics as well. So yeah, a nice variety.
I get it, and we get a lot of kids looking at universities. And what made you choose Sheffield? Not regarding the academic things, but what was it about the life that you liked about Sheffield when you went to have a look at it?
Well, I'd say I quite enjoyed the fact that you could kind of live on the where the sort of accommodation was initially. Like, obviously you only stay there in the first year, but that's it kind of feels like you're in the countryside. I grew up in the countryside, but at the same time, Sheffield, it's a big city, but a really small city centre, and so it kind of feels like a town. But obviously you have like everything that a big city has to offer. But you can, you had the Peak District close by, and then it was also quite big on sports as well, which is something that I love doing. So, but yeah, I guess those were the main things. But also, yeah, I know you said aside from the academic things, but it was basically the best university that I could get into with the grades that I had. Was fundamentally the reason. Yeah.
And it just shows that, because a lot of people, at the moment with the COVID stuff, they don't know what they're going to get for their A levels. So mums and dads literally might be out there thinking, oh, well, they might not get what they were hoping they were going to get. But there's always a positive way through. And the fact that you managed to convert it into a master's is that it's done quite frequently now, isn't it? In the engineering things, people tend to go on to do masters afterwards. So I think that's really positive story.
And also, sorry.
No, go for it.
Yeah, also worth mentioning as well that I didn't originally get the grades to sign up for the master's degree when I was at school. So I just did. I was there after 2 years, and then if you get the results during uni, then you can let's say upgrade yourself to the master's degree. So and I didn't even get the grades at A level that I needed to get into Sheffield. I just sort of managed to get in anyway with a few grades below. So it was just you don't have to get the grades that they say you need to get in.
No, I think that works across the board as well. So I am aware that in music that happens a little bit as well, but also in a lot of the sports science ones, you can then convert it into different parts of psychology-based masters and things. So, it's really good to know. And if you're a mum and dad, I think that's really useful. I think some of the things that we get from our mums and dads are, how do you find a job afterwards? And they might not know much about graduate training programs because they're quite new, but do you want to tell us a little bit about what is a graduate training program? Because it's quite a conventional thing for people to look for now, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say I know a few of my friends from uni. Most of them did graduate schemes, but then there are a couple that went into straight into full-time roles. Grad scheme wise, yeah, you basically so normally it's 6-month rotations for 2 years. So you do 4, and the purpose is to do completely different areas, and you generally you get to choose where you go each time, which is quite interesting. And there are, coupled with that, there's also the grad scheme themselves do training throughout for various different, more let's say generic skills. And of course there's there are 10 of us here in Liberty Global, but there's in Virgin Media, they have their own graduate scheme of, I don't know, maybe 50 or something per year. So it also means that you can all get together at various points in the year. Obviously not this year or recently, but we did earlier in 2020, we got together, I think there were 200 in total. And obviously, you have a good time, but also you're meeting loads of different people all in one go. So I'd say, aside from even the work stuff, when you join a grad scheme, you immediately become friends and know maybe 20, 30 people in a company. Whereas if you join a team from outside and straight into a full-time role, then you start from zero and you don't really know anyone. So I think it helps with the networking side, joining a grad scheme, and you also get the opportunity to join different areas of the team. So of the company. So I'd say a good one of the invaluable things, even though you have no experience when you join or limited experience, when you get to your second and third rotation, you've been in teams that your current team knows nothing about, and they have no contacts in those teams. So you already have the ability to reach out, or you might even know another graduate that's been in there, and they can, so you're already an asset basically without having any experience necessarily. In terms of applying for graduate schemes, I think, there are quite a few good platforms now that you can use, which just basically have a list of all of the open graduate schemes, and you can filter by your sort of industry and things like that, or degree or qualifications. There's one called Grad Cracker, which is I used a lot, which was very helpful. I guess the process is fairly similar to applying for another job. However, it's almost certain that you have to go through the an assessment day, an assessment centre, which might be different from applying to it for a normal job. So that involves like group exercises and presentations, like a presentation day or whatever, and then what was the other one? Group exercise presentation, and something else. And they tend to just be various different exercises, and they just sort of see how you behave throughout the day, and kind of there's multiple assessors.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
Yeah.
They work really well, those kind of experiences, to kind of find the right place for you. I think one of the things that we concern ourselves about is, just because a kid's great and getting A stars all the way through doesn't necessarily mean they should go to Cambridge. It's not the best place for them. Like you said, you went to Sheffield, because the countryside, the sports, it was just the right mix perhaps for you at the time. So I think the grad schemes are very good at finding the right person, the right little bit. Tell me a little bit more about this cyber security thing, because obviously, with online and the lockdown now, I should imagine cyber security is going through the roof, is it not? It must be a busy job.
Yeah, I mean, it's also helped by the busyness is helped by the inability for, like, I have, like, most of the team is based in the UK and they can't go to the office, which is where you need to be to do this stuff. So that's also made things a bit busier. But yeah, so I mean, obviously a lot of businesses struggle at the moment, but I guess this is it's an internet business, and we have like TV products and stuff, and everyone's at home watching TV and using the internet to work. So I suppose, yeah, it's not, we've done pretty well from it, I suppose. But yeah, security wise, it's specifically for me, the security that I do is like specific to the products that are in the home. So your modems that you have in the home for your internet, or any boosters, or your TV box from Virgin Media and things like that. That's specifically where we focus our attention. But I didn't really know, although I have an engineering background, I knew nothing about security at the start when I joined. So in September was when I initially joined. So it's been a steep learning curve for me. But that's what's good about a grad scheme as well, is the expectation is that you don't know anything about that area, and people dedicate the time to sort of give you the training, which I think is, you have a different expectation if you join as a full-time employee.
I really like it, man. It sounds like a great place to be at the moment. And as Stu's been messaging me whilst we've been having a chat, because obviously we just wanted to tie it up before we finish with a bit of music in there. So I think we both remember you being like ridiculously good on the drums and just like having a great time. And you talked about when you were at college how the sport was an important thing as well. And we like to think that music's just for some people it's just a break and a bit of a balance. It gives them a bit of headspace. And for other people it might be I just physically want to hit something really hard to get the anger of the day out.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Stu might have a question or two in a minute, but do you have a favorite memory of when you were playing, or is there something that you can say, oh, I remember learning to with such and such, and that's helped me in today's life? Was anything like that you can share with the viewers?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's loads of things, to be honest, but I'd say the one thing that really that I really clearly remember is I can't remember what we actually called it, but those big kind of events that we did. I think it was called like the Waterside, something. Riverside, that's the one. Yeah, and you had the indoor fireworks and that sort of stuff. Yeah, and because I remember I think there was one in which some of my parents and both my grandparents. So my granddad was a jazz musician, and they came to watch, and so there were the four of them there, and my granddad really enjoyed. I used to always go and watch him play, so I think that was the first time where he sort of went and watched me play, and obviously it's quite a sort of big event with the fireworks and stuff, and like a big group of people on stage, and that's probably the main thing I remember.
Oh man, I think that's amazing. Yeah. I do remember doing the pyro, Stu. It was good times, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've got any other questions.
Bouncy castles.
Yeah, indoor.
Well, just just if I didn't know if James had any advice for anybody who's maybe looking at going for the grad schemes or engineering, or any advice for anybody going down that sort of route.
Yeah, was
for
it
any
good
of our
to
young
have,
musicians?
was it good to have music on, you know, was it a nice talking point? So we know you like your granddad and your, with regards to the music, but you know, did anybody else find that interesting when you were talking to them?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you, so yeah, I suppose in answer to both questions, like if you are, I definitely recommend a graduate scheme because you get much more variety, and especially when you're going from a student environment to a work environment, it's quite a good transition. But when they're recruiting for that, you know, by the time, especially when you get to the stage of an assessment center or an interview and things, you know, that they know that you have the right qualifications and everything, and they're really looking for you, about you as a person. So having as much diversity in like the extracurricular things that you've done makes a massive difference, and being able to talk about different things in an interview rather than just, you know, the course that you did at uni and a few group, you know, projects that you did in your engineering degree. Being able to say, you know, I played hockey or whatever sport, or I was in this band and I was doing all, you know, it builds you up as a character rather than just some one-dimensional sort of academic. So I think it definitely helps, all of those things. And for me, I mean, music's probably different, has a different thing for everyone, but for me, I used to really enjoy playing the drums actually just on my own, which is quite strange for a drummer, but I just enjoyed that kind of, like you said, just expressing myself, but just on my own, and I quite enjoyed that. I used to get kind of quite nervous about playing in front of people, and I think putting yourself in that position where you're in front of people and you have to feel a bit nervous is not a bad thing to get used to. So I think that's another small thing that they all add up.
Yeah, man, and great advice. You know, and I think that's it about music. You know, you can do it on your own in your own room, can't you? If you're a guitarist, a drummer, or a sax player, or a singer, it's just nice. You don't have to do it with people. So honestly, this has been really lovely chat. So thanks for dialing in from Amsterdam. If there's mums and dads out there or viewers that want to connect with James, I'm sure he's on LinkedIn. And, you know, it's always great to build the profiles of the kids on LinkedIn. So, you know, reach out to him. And if he's got the time, I'm sure he'll respond. So on behalf of everybody here, James and Stu, myself, thanks very much for dialing in. We think you're fabulous. And we look forward to hearing about your career as you go from now. Bye for now, everybody.